Hello creatives! Welcome to my channel. I'm Angela, a graphic designer and an illustrator. Today we're going to be in Procreate and we're going to mess with lighting techniques. I did a version of this before, but I'm updating it now. And if you want to see the other one I did, I will link it on the screen somewhere. For any of you who are new, welcome. Thank you for subscribing if you have already. And for those of you who have subscribed, thank you so much. And let's dive in to Procreate with these lighting and shading techniques. I have a piece of artwork right here. It's very simple, it's very plain right now, so we are going to add some lighting and shading to this. And it's not going to be destructive to the piece at all. So let's get into lighting this piece. Lighting and shading is different during different times of day. So this base that we have here is pretty much like midday, like noon, 1 o'clock time. So there isn't any lighting and shading going on the inside here of this little cabin. In Procreate, if you're not familiar with the program, there are lots of options up here on the top toolbar, here and here. Procreate is famous for its brushes, so there's a whole brush library here. I'm going to be using the airbrush category here. And I typically like the soft brush airbrush. You can use whichever airbrush you would like or whichever brush works best for you. I tend to like the airbrush because it gives you like a softer edge when you're doing lighting and shading. I will also be on a new layer. I'm going to name this layer. If you tap on the layer name, you can rename it. And I'm going to name it, let's just do, whoops. And I'm going to show you a few different types of lighting. I'm going to do one that's more for the evening, where it's like pinkish colored. I'm going to do one that's more for like middle of the day, which is more orange. And then the last one I'm going to do is going to be one that's more dark. So that one's going to be more blue, but it's going to be like a dark blue. So let's start with the orange. And again, this is completely up to your preference, but I'm going to do more of an orange color here. Something like this. For the lighting, it's going to be more of an overlay. So this letter N right over here on the layer, you can tap on that and you can change the blend modes for each layer. You know what, let's see what add does. Add might be a good option. Change the opacity here to about 70% and we'll see how that looks. All right, how big is my brush? That's not big enough. Let's make it a bit bigger. There we go. All right, we have a really nice big window here, and this window is going to bring in lots of light. I did use a reference photo when I created this, but for now, we're just going to create our own lighting. So the reason I'm going to do this on a separate layer is just so that way you don't have to go in and do all the super fine details. We'll do that with the shading, but with the lighting, I like to keep it pretty simple. I'm going to take some lighting and just bring it in here from the window, just like so. So as you can see, the airbrush lends itself to having a really soft ambient type of lighting effect, and you don't have like any harsh lines going across if that's not what you want. So there is our lighting coming through here. And then for shading, I didn't make a layer for shading, but I'm going to do that now. Underneath the lighting layer, I'm going to do our shading orange layer. There we go. So for this one, instead of it being normal, I'm probably going to do more of a multiply blend mode. There it is. And the opacity, I'm also going to bring it down to 70%. Again, this is mostly like your preference. And let's see how this looks. Now for the shading, I want to shade certain areas as well. Oh, that's a big brush. I'm going to shade certain spaces and certain spots, like here on the sofa. I wonder if I change it from multiply to color burn. Seems like color burn would be our best bet here. Okay. get some of that on the sofa there. Put some shading here on these trusses and up here as well, because this is all shading up here in these rafters and even through here as well. So we have all this shading going on, and it sets a really nice mood for this piece. I'm going to go back to our lighting for a moment, put up some lighting right up here and also along this section here. And that was very quick. We didn't take too much time to do this, but as you can see, it gives it more of a mood. And now I can definitely go in here and add some more lighting elements to like the couch and such like that, but those are more finer details. I can definitely go in and do that. I think what I want to do, especially for the couch, add a new layer here. And let's see about just having that extra on, having the extra right there just on the sofa itself. Yeah, much better. And then I can take it down to where it's just on the sofa and nowhere else. Because my brush was a little bit big. And I can do that same thing for the pillows as well. Get a little bit more lighting on the pillows. And then the same thing for the shading. And just a little bit more shading to the sofa, just to give it more of a natural look. And then you have a lighting and shading section just like this one. Now if we turn these off, we can then have more of a pink light for more of like a sunset type of feel. I'm going to go in here and choose more of a pink color. These colors aren't really set in stone. You can pick any kind of color that you would like. I'm picking more of like a mid-tone pink here. I don't want to be too saturated. There we are. Go back to our add setting at 70%. So I'm going to be on the lighting pink layer, and my brush is still the soft airbrush, and I'm going to do a little bit more of this pink style lighting throughout here. Make sure we get the pink all the way throughout. Oops. With more of like a sunset feel, we will need to change our sky in the background. I will overlay more of like a pinky sky here, so that way it looks more like evening. And I will also overlay a darker green type of color as well for this. And I'll also overlay like a 40% pink on the grass on the outside, just so it looks more like it's sunset time. You will need to add more shading to this, of course. So let's go into our shading. Our shading pink layer, and this one we're going to take to the bottom of the couch, here and here. Take it up to the rafters as well. And along the edge. So that way we can get a good overall, almost sunset look to this piece. And it changes the mood of that so much. And you can keep layering if you would like to. You can even add a darker color in here as well. But this gives it more of a softer type of sunset look for this. And then the last one is going to be more of a blue shift where it's almost night, but there's still some like lighting coming through. And I'm going to start with our lighting. I'm going to do more of a true blue color. And then let's add in our light. We can turn our previous overlay layers off, add a multiply layer in the background for the grass and for the sky. Just change the blend mode to multiply, and it will make it look like it's pretty dark outside. So So those are the only other layers we are messing with for the background. And then for our main lighting here, we're going to add in just a subtle amount of this blue, only due to the fact that there's moonlight outside. This gives it a little bit of a blue shift. And then for our shading layer, which is set to multiply at 80%, we're going to add this shading all up here. Now it's going to be pretty dark, so you can layer multiple times over to get the look. Keep in mind your lines when you are doing this as well. And then you have more of a different mood when it comes to this one. Everything is a little bit deeper, it's a little bit darker, it's a little bit more creepy, if you will. I'm going to add just a bit more shading here. This was our base that we started with, and then with a few simple layers and some brush strokes with the airbrush, we can have lighting for midday, which looks like this. For more of a sunset, which looks more like this. And then we also have one for night, more of like an evening to nighttime, which looks like this. So we have 3 different versions here. For the foliage, if you wanted to add a little bit more detail, if there is a lot of foliage in your piece, add a overlay effect to the darkest one for at nighttime, so it gives it more of a deeper tone, a deeper color. You can change this to a lighter color for when it's more of a sunset mood. For our pink lighting and shading, there we go. So it gives it more of a softer, more of a kind of romantic feel, cozy feel. For the midday one, where it has more of the warm orange lighting, on the foliage you can do something that is more similar to that type of day and probably do more of like a linear burn type of color, so that way it's darker, because foliage, some of the foliage may have some light to it, but some of it may also just be like super dark. You can also do a new layer on top, choose your midday orange color, and then we can do more of like an add at 70%. And then just add a little bit extra to the foliage, just to give it a little bit more of like a glimmer, and then you can have that on just like that for the different types of lighting. So I hope this was very helpful for you all. Lighting and shading is really very simple. You don't need to be super detailed with it. You can get away with it being a lot more simplistic. Like, this is the shadow, this is the lighting. It doesn't need to be very complicated. So as you can see with this, we did quite a few different simple colored layers and use our blend modes to create different lighting effects on these. So there is a multitude of possibilities here for you depending on the time of day and what mood you want. You can also choose different colors. You don't have to choose the blue and the pink and the orange like I did. You can choose different colors. It could be yellow, it could be purple. You can even do something as dark as a dark gray, not really black, but dark gray. You can get colors kind of like that. I like to keep them more desaturated so that way they don't add too much color, because it is just lighting and it is just shading. It doesn't add too much to the color, it just adds more to the lightness and the darkness. So I hope this video was helpful for you all. Let me know in the comments down below of anything you would like to see, and I will do my best to showcase them to you. And I think this came out really quite good. What do you guys think? Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next video. See you soon, creatives.